Hi, I'm Ellie, and this is your weekly theatre news recap, the show where I take all of the theatre news from the past week and I give it to you in the only way I know how, chaotically. Now, you may notice I'm a bit late this week on this. I'm sorry, Sunday was Groundhog Day. I had a very important Groundhog Day video to make for that day, and then time got a little bit away from me. So this week, I'm going to be discussing last week's theatre news and like the first couple of days of this week. And then the next weekly theatre news recap we do, I will do the rest of this week and the following week. So basically, I'm skipping a week, but I'm placing it in between. That's clever, right? But if you want to stay up to date with UK theatre news, make sure you hit subscribe because I do these every single week-ish. But there's so much news to go through. There's so much news. Last week was like one of the biggest news weeks ever. And so let's just jump into it, starting with casting news. So we have the cast announced for White Rose. This is a piece that was last seen off Broadway and is getting a UK premiere, being staged at the Marylebone Theatre in London from the 27th of February to the 13th of April. And starring in this show will be Colette Guittard as Sophie, Tobias Turley as Hans, Owen Arkrow as Willie, Danny Culligan as Max, Charlie Robbie as Lila, Thomas Sutcliffe as Carl, Danny Whelan as Christoph, Mark Wilshire as Kurt Huber, Ollie Ray as Frederick, and finally our understudies for this production, Millie Robbins and Nathan Shaw. So if you want to catch this musical, it starts previews on the 27th of February 2025 at London's Marylebone Theatre. Next up, another off-West End musical is Midnight Cowboy, which has announced its full cast for its premiere at the Soho Playhouse Elephant on the 4th of April 2025. Starring in this will be East Ender star Max Bowden, Paul Jacobs French, and Tori Allen Martin, starring as Rico, Joe, and Cass respectively. They will be joined by Elena Bracey as Dolores, Joanne Henry as Grandma Sally, Kristen Maynard as Tom Baby, Phoebe Roberts as Chalkline Annie, which is a great name, Tim Rogers as Woodsy Niles, which is also a great name, Rohan Tickle as Mr. O'Daniel, and Matthew Wright as Townie. There are also some further casting and ensemble members in the description down below, along with any other ensemble casting that is shared later into this video. But it's really exciting, really cool to see new musicals come to the UK. You know me, I love supporting new musicals, I love giving them a chance, I love giving them feedback. I can't wait to check these ones out, hopefully, fingers crossed. Next up, we're heading to the West End now, where we have the full cast joining Ewan McGregor in My Master Builder at the Wyndham's Theatre. Joining him will be Elizabeth Debicki as Mathilde, Kate Fleetwood as Elena, David Ajala as Ragnar, and Miran Mack as Kaya. This will be opening at the Wyndham's Theatre on the 29th of April 2025, with previews starting from the 17th of April and finishing its run on the 12th of July. As well as that, we have one additional cast member for Dracula. This is going to the Menier Chocolate Factory next month, for a run opening on the 8th of March and finishing on the 3rd of May. Joining the previously announced cast members will be Sebastian Torkia, who will be playing Mina and Van Helsing. Very exciting. I've heard a lot about this show from its off-Broadway run. It looks wild and camp and hilarious, and I'm very ready for that. Another musical that is premiering off West End is Supersonic Man. We spoke about this a couple of weeks ago. It's going to the Southwark Playhouse Borough from Wednesday the 9th of April to Saturday the 3rd of May, and we now know our cast. Starring in this production will be Dylan Aiello, James Lowry, Jude St. James, Dominic Sullivan, and Mally Wen Davies. So if you want to catch Supersonic Man, you can head over to the Southwark Playhouse Borough from the 9th of April. And another new musical announcing casting off West End. This is a real trend. We have Crybaby at the Arcola Theatre. This musical has been long awaited to be seen in the UK, and we now know who will be starring in it from the 6th of March to the 12th of April. Adam Davidson will be playing Crybaby, Lulu May Pears will be playing Alison, Elliot Allenson will be playing Baldwin Blandish, and Jazzy Phoenix will be playing Pepper Walker. Also starring will be Eleanor Walsh, Chad St. Louis, Kingsley Morton, India Chadwick, Shirley Jameson, and Paul Kemble. There's also an ensemble who are where? The description down below. This is very exciting. I don't know too much about Crybaby. I know the one song. There is that one song from Crybaby, Screw Loose, that everyone and their mum knows that song. And that's a fantastic song. So if you're going to know one song from musical, that's a good first impression. I'm really hoping to be able to catch this one and tick off the Arcola because I haven't visited that theatre yet. A new part of London to visit. Finally, in casting news this week, we have HADESTOWN. Just when you thought that HADESTOWN couldn't take up another spot in our weekly news recap, they came up with more news. Now, firstly, we're going to speak about something they announced before this casting news, and that is that the OG cast will indeed be filming a pro shot. This has been a very known rumor, but we now have official confirmation, and we have dates as well. It will be officially filmed on the 20th of February and the 1st of March 2025. And the entire cast, when the OG Broadway leads return, will be starring in it. So yes, I not only am going to have a recorded production with the originals, I also get Ali Daniels' fate forever. And if that wasn't enough for HADESTOWN news, they have announced this week the cast taking over for year 2. And this is really exciting. There's a lot of names in here who we thought might be doing it the first time around, and also some fantastic returning names too. So, the year 2 West End cast of HADESTOWN includes Desdemona Cathbell as Eurydice. If you don't recognize Desdemona, you may recognize her from Mamma Mia, I Have a Dream, or from the UK tour of Aladdin. She is a fantastic performer, and it's amazing to see her step into this role. I think she's going to be phenomenal. We also have Victoria Hamilton Barrett as Persephone. This was a name that a lot of people were throwing around when HADESTOWN was first announced to be coming over. I think she's going to bring a very interesting energy to Persephone. We obviously know that she is a fantastic comedic performer, but she can deliver a lot of grit when she needs to, and I cannot wait to see her take on Persephone. We also have the amazing Chris Jarman, who is going to be playing Hades. I think the energy that he brings as a performer is going to match Hades perfectly. And we also have the incredible Cedric Neal as Hermes. I think when HADESTOWN first came over, there was 2 names that were like, these 2 are perfect for Hermes. And the first one we already saw, it was Melanie Barry, who performed Hermes to a T, and Cedric Neal. I think Cedric is going to be fantastic as Hermes. He's got the energy, he's got the stage presence, he is going to kill it. And staying on will be Dylan Wood, who, after taking a short break from the show for the OGs to come back, will be returning to the role of Orpheus. I managed to catch the current cast last week, and Dylan Wood is so wonderful as Orpheus. He has such a charm and such an energy to him. Oh, I cannot wait to see him again. As well as that, we have our fates. We have new fates joining, who are Melanie Bright and Lauren Ray, and Ali Daniel staying on. Ali Daniel is staying in HADESTOWN. I am very, very happy, and I'm even happier because she is stepping up to be first cover Hermes, which means I may actually be able to go and see her play Hermes, and I cannot wait for that. We also have new ensemble members and new swings in the description down below, but this is a great cast. This cast will be joining as a special birthday present for me on the 11th of March, because that is my birthday. Just when you think HADESTOWN had the perfect casting in year 1, they come out and say, do you want to see it again? This is a brilliant cast, and I cannot wait to return to HADESTOWN again. My bank account is crying because of how many times I'm going to have to go see HADESTOWN. That's it for casting news this week. Let's move on to concerts and events, where all we have to speak about this week is Girls Aloud. The greatest girl band of the millennium, Girls Aloud, are back again, as you've never seen them before, as now they have a little drag twist, starring Cheryl, Kitty Scott-Claus, Her, Ophelia Love, and Lydia Lescabies. I love drag names. These 5 queens will be performing their tribute act to Girls Aloud, Girls Aloud, here at Outernet on the 4th of April, alongside special guest star Vanity Milan. So if you love a little bit of Girls Aloud, if you love a little bit of drag, if you want to see the perfect combination, you can head over to Outernet right in central London. Literally take 5 steps away from Tottenham Court Road Station and you are there. You can check them out then. Let's move on to miscellaneous news, where first of all we have 2 extensions extensions to talk about. The first is Devil Wears Prada, which is extended throughout 2025, now booking until the 3rd of January 2026. This should come to a surprise to absolutely no one. If you are consistently selling out the Dominion Theatre, one of the hardest theatres to sell out in the West End, I feel like you deserve to extend your run. Like, come on. No matter what you can say about that show, if it's selling well and selling consistently, I am glad to see it stay. And because the 3rd of January is a very popular day to extend your musical to, Back to the Future has also extended to then, the 3rd of January 2026. Time traveling, just a little bit longer. As well as that, this week, we got a very shocking announcement. It came very out of left field. I don't think any of us were expecting this, but Romantics Anonymous has announced and released a cast album. This is a musical that we last saw in 2020. It has been a long time since we saw this musical. I actually missed it. But this week, they have released their cast album. This was recorded during their 2020 run at the Bristol Old Vic, and you can go and listen to this now. Hopefully, this will maybe lead into a future life for the musical, maybe a little revival. I wouldn't say no. I've heard amazing things about it, and actually, I'm gonna have to go sit down and listen to it at some point. As well as that, if you want to check out the Waitress Pro Shot, this is going to be streamed on National Theatre Home. We have a special premiere happening on the 14th of February, so if you love Waitress the Musical and you have National Theatre at Home, their streaming service, you can check out Waitress on there. Isn't that lovely? And finally, in miscellaneous news, we're going to have to speak about 2 cancellations. Now, one I'm going to go over quickly, and then the other one I want to speak about in a little bit more detail. Because firstly, Hugh Jackman this week has sadly had to cancel his Hyde Park concert. The other thing that's been cancelled is the Coraline UK tour. Now, this is interesting because the reason that Coraline has cancelled their UK tour is because of the author of the original book, Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman, if you are unaware, has recently come under a lot of fire because of some sexual misconduct allegations that have been levied towards him. The allegations levied towards him are extremely serious, and his response to these have not been very strong, leaving the producers of the show in a very difficult situation. Am I disappointed that Coraline has been cancelled? Absolutely. I am a huge fan of Coraline. But on the other hand, I have to commend these producers for having the integrity and looking at the situation and making a very difficult decision to cancel this, to not support Neil Gaiman in this instance. His actions are inexcusable, and if they couldn't see a way for the production to go on without supporting him, I definitely agree that this was the best decision to take, no matter how difficult or how sad that is. There are a lot of shows around at the moment that I will not discuss because of the original owners of that source material. Look, as a trans person, you obviously know one of the big shows I am talking about here. I think sometimes it's very difficult for these shows to escape the shadow that looms over them. Something like Harry Potter has been ruined for someone like me. I cannot enjoy or go and see a piece of Harry Potter media because I know who is being supported by that. And I know what that money is going towards. Obviously, my heart goes out for the creative team of this show, the people who worked so hard on it, the people who were lined up to be in it. But at the same time, this isn't the fault of those producers who have made this decision. This isn't the fault of anyone involved that side. This is the fault of Neil Gaiman. This is the consequences of his actions. If there is a person to blame here for this, it is him. And honestly, I think it shows a creative team and a set of producers who have a strong spine. And I think, above all things, that has to be strongly commended. But with that said, let's move on to our final section of this week, where we're going to speak about transfers and new productions. First of all, we have the final show in the first season from Tim Shearder at the Donmar Warehouse. Closing out this season is Dealer's Choice. This will be the 30th anniversary production of this show and will be directed by Matthew Dunster. Dealer's Choice will star Alfie Allen, Hamid Animation, Theo Barkland-Biggs, Brendan Coyle, Casper Hilton Hill, and Daniel Lepane. What's Dealer's Choice about, you ask? Well, here's a cheeky little synopsis. Sunday night, Stephen hosts a weekly poker game in the basement of his failing London restaurant. All the usual suspects are there. The chef, the waiters, the errant son, but tonight a stranger has come to play. This will be opening on the 28th of April with previews running from the 18th of April and the show closing on the 7th of June. So if that sounds interesting to you, make sure you check it out. As well as that, we got a surprising announcement that the Addams family is returning for a very short UK tour. This will be going to 4 venues this summer, going to the Birmingham Hippodrome from the 10th to the 12th of July, the Curve in Leicester from the 15th of July to the 10th of August, the Lowry in Salford from the 12th to the 16th of August, and the Marlow Theatre Canterbury from the 19th to the 23rd of August. I'm not quite sure why all of the other tour stops are so short and then it's doing like a full month in Leicester, but honestly, it is just nice to see the Addams Family musical back. While I would love to see them add some more dates to this, and maybe there is potential for them to do that, they seem to be very definite with their phrasing in the press release that these are going to be the only stops on this tour. Nonetheless, it's fantastic to see Addams Family back. And hopefully I'll be able to travel a little bit further than I would normally to catch it on this mini tour. Another tour to talk about is Lost Atoms. This is a brand new piece from Frantic Assembly and tells the story of a relationship, an extraordinary, transformative love. Or is that only hindsight? Perhaps it was just typical, or toxic, or doomed from the start. One thing's for sure, it changed their lives. This will be premiering at the Curve Leicester from the 22nd of September to the 4th of October 2025, and then we'll tour to York, Liverpool, Coventry, Colchester, Lowry, Worthing, Southampton, Bristol, and the Lyric Hammersmith Theatre. So if you want to catch a new piece by Frantic Assembly, you can catch that then. As well as that, we got a very shocking announcement from Self-Esteem, who has announced a short season at the Duke of York's Theatre to celebrate her new album, A Complicated Woman. This will actually see her reunite with Tom Scott, because obviously Self-Esteem was previously seen in Cabaret, the Kit Kat Club, and that show has design work from Tom Scott, who is actually joining here not only as a designer, but also directing the show. This is described as an ambitious, quasi-theatrical experience that harnesses the power and the energy of a gig, but presents it through a theatrical format. And if you are interested in catching this, if you're a fan of Self-Esteem, you can see this at the Duke of York's Theatre from the 16th to the 19th of April. But I don't want to speak about the West End. How about some more tours? The first of these is Inspector Morse. This is the first ever stage adaptation of this iconic detective series, which will star Tom Chambers. This has a full title of Inspector Morse, House of Ghosts, and follows Morse and his trusted colleague D.S. Lewis as they investigate the mysterious onstage death of a young actress. This will be opening in Birmingham and then will tour venues across the UK, including Richmond, York, Nottingham, Bromley, Belfast, Brighton, Sheffield, Cheltenham, Woking, Norwich, Aylesbury, Liverpool, Leeds, Newcastle, Malvern, Edinburgh, Milton Keynes, Aberdeen, Glasgow, and Salford. So if you are interested, you can catch that on its many UK tour stops. I've just said them, I'm not saying them again. As well as that, 2 tour stops have been announced for Mary Poppins. This has been embarking on a UK tour since last year, and they have added 2 additional stops. This will be having a 6-week festive season at the Cardiff Millennium Centre from the 3rd of December, and then we'll be going to the Liverpool Empire Theatre from the 14th of January 2026. So, if you feel like Mary Poppins was a little bit too far from you and you're a little bit closer to these 2 venues, you can catch Mary Poppins there. I've heard it's practically perfect. As well as that, we are getting a very short tour for the Enormous Crocodile musical. After a hit season at the Leeds Playhouse and at the Regent Park Open Air Theatre, the Enormous Crocodile musical will be opening at the Windsor Theatre Royal from the 8th of August 2025. It will have a 1-week run there and then will be returning to the Regent Park Open Air Theatre as part of their 2025 season, which we will speak about a little bit later in the video. This will run there from the 15th of August to the 7th of September 2025. So if you want to catch this Roald Dahl musical, perfect for families, you can catch it then. But we have some other shows to speak about before we get to the Regent's Park series, because we have the second half of the Barbican summer season to speak about. Now, we already knew that going to the theatre for the first half of the summer would be Fiddler on the Roof before it goes on a UK-wide tour. But taking up the second half of the summer will be a transfer for Good Night Oscar. This was a piece seen on Broadway and will be opening at the Barbican Theatre from the 31st of July until the 21st of September for a limited 7-week season. This will also see Emmy and Tony Award winner Sean Hayes return to the production. Hayes plays the title role of Oscar, specifically Oscar Levant, Hollywood actor, concert pianist, and the most subversive wit ever to appear on television during its golden age. It's 1958, and Jack Parr hosts the hottest late-night talk show on television. His favourite guest, wildcard Oscar Levant. Famous for his witty one-liners, Oscar has a favourite. There's a fine line between genius and insanity. I have erased this line. Tonight, Oscar will prove just that when he appears on national TV in an episode that Parr's audience and the rest of America won't soon forget. This sounds really interesting. I'm very excited to catch this at the Barbican this summer. And if you are excited too, you can book your tickets to go and see it from the 31st of July until the 21st of September. Another exciting play to speak about is To Kill a Mockingbird. I caught this in the West End a couple of years ago. It feels like ages since I've seen it, and it will be returning to go on a UK tour later this year. This is obviously based on Harper Lee's iconic novel of the same name, and after smash hit Broadway and West End seasons, this will be touring the UK, going to Leeds, Nottingham, Edinburgh, Leicester, Glasgow, Bath, Cardiff, Salford, Sheffield, Dublin, Belfast, Plymouth, Canterbury, Southampton, Birmingham, Newcastle, Norwich, Liverpool, Milton Keynes, and more venues to be announced soon. So if you missed it in London, or if you miss it from London, you can catch it then. Now, the final two news stories we have to speak about this week are two seasons. Now, there's a lot to speak about here. Firstly, we have the RSC. I'm going to briefly touch on all these shows. I'm not going to give dates. If you want to check out dates, I would highly recommend going to the description and clicking the link down below to go to the RSC website. I'm going to just briefly overview all of the shows in the season because there are a lot. So there's shows that were previously announced to be going to the RSC as part of this season, including Hamlet, Hail to the Thief, 4.48 plus Psychosis. And now joining them are all of these productions. Firstly, let's explore some of the Shakespeare shows. We have a new production of Much Ado About Nothing, directed by Michael Longhurst, The Winter's Tale, we have Measure for Measure, we have a new 80-minute version of Two Gentlemen from Verona, and Titus Andronicus, which will star Simon Russell Beale in the title role. As well as that, we are getting the UK premiere of Fat Ham. This is a hilarious reimagining of Hamlet, which was previously seen on Broadway, and will be premiering at the RSC's Swan Theatre. We will also see Rose Leslie make her RSC debut in The Constant Wife. This will be a new version of the play by Olivier Award-winning playwright Laura Wade. And probably the most exciting thing and the most interesting thing is that the RSC will be doing their second adaptation of a Roald Dahl book. They will be taking a look at the BFG. This will be directed by co-artistic director Daniel Evans and will play at the Royal Shakespeare Theatre. And finally, the other season we're going to explore, as hinted at earlier, is the Regent's Park Open Air Theatre's new season. Now, this is very important because this is the first season of the new artistic director, Drew McConey. And honestly, some of the stuff he's introduced here is fantastic. Now, first of all, the worst kept secret in London theatre history is that the season will be opening with the musical Shucked. This will be transferring from Broadway to London. This will be the first time we'll see the musical in an open air setting. However, we are likely seeing the same production that was on Broadway. This will be playing at the Regent's Park Open Air Theatre from the 10th of May to the 14th of June 2025 and will star Monique Ash Palmer as Storyteller 1, Ben Joyce as Beau, Sophie McShearer as Maisie, Georgina Honora as Lulu, Keith Ramsey as Peanut, Matthew Seedon Young as Gordy, and Simon Webb as Storyteller 2. Now, that's all the cast members they officially announced, but Jonathan Andrew Hume also announced on social media that he's going to be in the show, and you can kind of verify that from the fact that he's also on the official marketing they released. I don't know why he's not in the press release. I would assume because all of the main roles are cast in this block of casting that he's likely going to be in the ensemble or maybe swinging for the show. But there's an extra name for you in case you want to hear it. Next up in the season will be Rodgers and Hammerstein's Dream Ballets. This will be running from the 19th to the 22nd of June 2025. And we'll see choreographers reimagine dream ballets from several different Rodgers and Hammerstein musicals, including Oklahoma and Carousel, alongside new arrangements by Simon Hale. These choreographers are due Julia Cheng, Shelley Maxwell, and Kate Prince. This is a really interesting idea, and I love how obviously Drew Maconey is a very talented and very strong choreographer as well as a director. It's really lovely to see him take the open air theatre and breathe some extra dance theatre into there as part of the overall season. I think it's a great idea and a really interesting twist and a really interesting way to take this. I love this idea. This is a fantastic thing to see in this first season. This will be followed by the only play in the season this year, which is Noughts and Crosses. This is the adaptation by Dominic Cook, which explores a Romeo and Juliet-esque story while also commenting on systematic racism. This will be playing at the Open Air Theatre from the 28th of June to the 26th of July 2025, and the season will culminate in one final musical, a revival of Brigadoon, a musical that is very rarely seen in the UK. This will be running at the theatre from the 2nd of August to the 20th of September 2025. This is going to be a new adaptation of the musical by acclaimed Scottish playwright Rona Munro, and this production will be directed and choreographed by the new artistic director Drew Maconey. And when I said this is a very rarely seen musical in the UK, this is actually, as the press release states, the first major London revival for the musical for the first time in over 35 years. We also got initial casting for this show, which will star Daniel Fiamanya as Fiona and Lewis Gaunt as Tommy. What a season. What an exciting season. Honestly, really, really fantastic stuff here. I cannot wait to visit the Regent's Park Open Air Theatre over this summer. And that is all your theatre news for this week. What are you most excited for? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. If you did enjoy this video, please consider hitting like and subscribe. It really helps me, it helps out the channel. Here's some links to some other videos on screen right now and a link to my Instagram if you'd like to drop me a follow over there. I also have other social links and a merch store in the description down below. But that's it for me today, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!